Okay, so second video here we have for me to look at today. Let's hit play here. Looks like a car going down the road on a rainy, going down the road on a rainy day and somebody changes lane. Oh my goodness. Ugh. Car rolling over. So, wow. Impressive crash. Shows a car going down the road on a rainy day. First thing is the road surfaces on these days are indeed slick. It probably saves this car right here from sliding from not flipping earlier. And then unfortunately hits the ditch and rolls over multiple times. So this is the type of crash that I've seen frequently, both as a medical doctor and as an attorney. Very impressive to see a live here from somebody's dash camera, because typically I've not seen them in this manner. But there are a couple things that jump out to me. The first thing is on rainy days, the roads are incredibly slick. The reason is because usually heat will bring out oils to the surface of the road, and then when you mix the oil and the water, it makes for an incredibly slick surface. That's why sometimes even when landing an airplane, the tower will come in and ask you what the runway surface is like if it's wet or been raining. And it's the same thing with roads. Heat brings oils to the surface. Oils to the surface mixed with water equals this very slippery surface. Now here we see one vehicle going to change lanes into the other side. The lane change is really the one that we've probably all done a lot of times. And here it is. It's right in this driver's blind spot. The driver of this little silver SUV is coming up alongside it and he changes over. There's a perfect blind spot there. We've all seen it, where you look in your mirror and there's absolutely nobody there. And you go to move over and you hear, honk, because there was somebody right there. And that's exactly what this is. Whether it wasn't careless driving on the part at first of the person changing lanes, it was a common mistake that ends up being careless and may have even cost them their life here, or if not, they're lucky he was very close to it. The other thing is you notice that as the driver goes to make a correction right here, the driver almost notices it. But those slick roads may have played a surface as well. Then lastly, the bar ditch is very interesting. Over years, they've changed these ditches alongside roads to change the slant, because they found that there was a huge loss of lives. The bigger the slant, the more severe the tumble or the severe the impact or crash once people went off the road, as happened here. Here you can see the edge of the road really isn't too aggressive, but the speed of the vehicle is. So by the time it goes into that ditch, it didn't catch on the pavement and start rolling. By the time it hit the ditch, it did. Once that roll starts occurring, that's when we see all kinds of injuries happen. First of all, the human head is about 12 to 14 pounds in weight. So imagine if you took a 12 to 14 pound bowling ball and you swung it and you try to stop your arm. What happens? The arm goes like this, right? You can't stop that bowling ball. When that car goes to rolling and turning over like that, it's the same thing with their head. It is rolling and turning in a way that the neck cannot stop. We have very few neck muscles up there to hold up this 12 to 14 pounds. And that's why in crashes just like this, there are always severe injuries to the spine. There's just not enough support to sustain those type of forces that result in something like a 14-pound weight at the end of a string being swung. The other thing is that in rollover crashes of this sort, there's frequently very severe extremity injuries or amputations. One of the things that you should think of when you see that, if you ever see race car drivers get out of their car, you notice that they have straps hooked to their suit at the wrists. It's because their wrists are actually clipped to the steering wheel. That way, if a NASCAR driver crashes or one of these drag race drivers crash, their arms can't leave the steering wheel to go outside the car. The reason is the forces are such that they can't physically keep them in. The arms whip out, and if they go out, of course, there's a risk, obviously a fracture, but a complete limb loss, certainly neurologic or vascular injuries. And I would mention one last thing. You have to remember that the heart suspends in the chest like a pendulum off of the aortic root, the big vessel that comes out of the top. It suspends there. Just like that head whips, so does that heart. And you can get tearing of the great vessels. If you get those, you bleed to death internally. This is a very serious crash, high-speed crash, major forces. And unfortunately, there are two factors here that really kick this whole event off. You've got that perfect blind spot, and then you've got those wet roads that make it really hard for any sort of recovery once that slipping starts to occur. Impressive.